Hey there. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 2-4, more about linear equations, specifically more about point-slope form, which we push harder in Algebra 2. I think we introduce it in Algebra 1, but really don't do as much with it. This is the point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'd like you to memorize that, please. We derive this from the slope formula. I'll show you exactly how we do that. Supposing for a moment that I wanted to divide both sides of this equation by x minus x1. Well, what would happen is, this would move. I'd take it and divide it over here, get it underneath there, and y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is slope, so it's actually the same thing. All right, so don't think it's too hard to memorize. All right, so erase that. That's how they get it, how we derived it. Okay, so let me show you how to use this. Number one, what's the equation of the line that goes through the point -5, 2, and with a slope of 3/5. All right, so it doesn't say what form you have to put it in. There's two main linear equation forms. Well, there's really three, but we've looked at the first two, y equals mx plus b, and then this one, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, so I'm going to use this one because it's much easier when I start doing these kind of problems where they give you a point in the slope. So slope will be my m, which is 3/5. So I can substitute that in for the m, and just like y equals mx plus b, this equation is going to have a y and it's going to have an x. Okay, now this is also going to have two more numbers with it. I'm going to get x1 from the x coordinate in the point, and I'm going to get the y1 from the y coordinate in the point. So plugging these in, the y coordinate goes next to the y, plug it right in there, and the x coordinate goes right next to the x. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up any double negatives, which in this case there is one. X minus -5 becomes x plus 5. But everything else stays the same. And there's the answer to the first equation, okay? All right, now just suppose for a moment if you ever wanted to go from point slope to slope intercept, go to y equals mx plus b. It's pretty easy to do this. You can take this answer here, multiply it out, and get the y alone. So to go to slope intercept, and sometimes they might want you to do that. So I distribute the 3/5, right? And I get 3/5 x plus 3/5 times 5 is 3. So that's what I get over here, and I got y minus 2. And I'm going to get the y alone, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I'll get my answer, y equals 3/5 x plus 5. So these are actually the same answer, except one's in y-intercept, slope-intercept form, and the other one is in point-slope form. But they're the same equation, just manipulated, okay? All right. So that was number 1. Number 2. Why don't you try write the equation in point slope form of the line with slope negative 2/3 and goes through the point 4, negative 3. Alright, so you try that one and come back and I'll have the answer for you. Okay, welcome back. So let's see. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So it's y minus the y coordinate equals m times x minus the x coordinate. Clean up any double negatives you got. Y plus 3 equals negative 2/3 x minus 4. And that's the answer. All right. Next one, number 3. Let's go the other direction for a moment. Name the point and the slope for this equation. If I go y minus 2 equals 6 times x plus 5. Okay, so why don't you go the other direction? Tell me what the slope is and what the point is. Remember, a point has an x coordinate and a y coordinate. The slope is probably the easiest one, right? That's right here. That's 6. The point, this is going to be where I get the number for the y, and this is going to be the number where I get the place where I get the number for the x. However, you got to remember that there's built-in subtraction signs. So they're actually going to be the opposite signs of what you see there, which will give you negative 5 for the x and positive 2 for the y, okay? Because just like up here, when I plugged in negative 3 here, I ended up with plus 3 because there's a double negative. So the point, the y coordinate was negative 3 even though it was y plus 3. So it's the opposite sign of what you see in the equation, okay? So that is the answers, and we're moving on to the next one. Number 4. Okay, before I get to number 4, I need to put out a couple of things here. You should know these, but we always have to go over it. Parallel lines have the same slopes. Put a star next to that. It's something you should know. And perpendicular lines have what we call negative reciprocal slopes. Okay, let me give you a couple examples here. So, example for parallel lines, that would be like the equations y equals 2x plus 3, and something else with the same slope would be y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, these are parallel lines. They have the same slope. They both have slope of 2. Okay, perpendicular lines, example would be y equals 2/5 x plus 5. Now, negative reciprocal means you take the fraction, flip it upside down, and change it from positive to negative or vice versa. So if I flip that part, it's all about the slope. The y-intercept does not matter, but I'm going to flip it upside down, so that becomes 5/2. It was positive up here, so it's going to be negative down here. The y-intercept can be anything you want. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to say it's -3, just so you see it doesn't have to be the same, plus 5, okay? So those would be an example of perpendicular lines. Okay, so now that I've put that out there, number 5, it's 5, right? 4. Write the equation in point slope form of the line parallel to y equals 6x minus 2 that goes through 1, -3. Okay, so my slope in this equation is 6. Okay, so that's going to be my slope in the new equation as well, because parallel lines, it says parallel, are going to have the same slope. Okay, so I want this into be in point slope form, which is like this. And this is often the way I write point slope form. I write the y, I write the x, and I leave those 3 spots blank. And I'm filling in here, here, and here. Okay, makes it nice and easy. So the slope goes there. X coordinate goes next to the x. Y coordinate goes next to the y. And then you simplify any double negatives. And just like that, I got the answer. Okay. Okay, number 5. Equation. What is the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals -4x plus 2/3 and goes through the point 8,5. Okay, so let me start with the slope, since they're perpendicular lines. So the fact that there's a fraction there actually doesn't matter. All I needed from that equation was the slope. So that was my old slope. My new slope will be the reciprocal and change its sign. So it went from being negative over here, I'm going to make it positive over here. And remember, to make a whole number into a fraction, you can always put it over 1. So if I'm flipping it, I get that. Okay, so there's my new slope. Let me write my equation here. Y minus equals m times x minus. Now let's fill in the blanks here. X coordinate goes next to the x. There's the 8. Y coordinate goes next to the y, which is the 5. My new slope goes in front of the parentheses, and there's the answer. Let's see how nice and easy that is to work with. Okay, so Number 6. What is the equation of the line that goes through 2 points, 3, 2, and 5, 8. All right, so this one. Now, no matter what type of answer you're going to give, whether it's y equals mx plus b or y2 minus y1 equals m times x2 minus x1, that you're going to need the slope, okay? So I'm going to start there. Remember, this is x1, y1, x2, y2, okay? And when I do that, I go 8 minus 2 over 5 minus 3 gives me 4 over 2, which is a slope of 2. All right, so that was good. Now I can actually get to the point where I'm going to write the equation. Y minus equals m times x minus. And the slope goes right in the front of the parentheses. And you can pick either point, okay? So there's actually more than one correct answer here. I'm going to do it first with this one, 3, 2. So 3 is the x, 2 is the y. There's one answer. Suppose I wanted to do it with the other point. I'll do the other one in green, which would be the 5, 8. So 5 is the x, 8 is the y. Either that one or that one. In fact, there's probably an infinite number of correct answers there since a line has an infinite number of points in it. I'm going to show you how to graph this just for a quick minute. So that you can see how to do it, all right? All right, so I'm going to take that same equation we just did, y minus 2, this was the answer from the last one, x minus 3. Okay, now suppose I was going to graph it. I just gave you that equation. I told you to graph it. This is nice and easy. You know, I need two things. I need the slope, which would be 3. And I also need, usually we were starting at the y-intercept before, but you can start at any point. Okay, so if I was going to pull the point out of that equation, you know, that's going to be my y-coordinate, but it'll be the opposite sign. That's going to be my x-coordinate, but it'll also be the opposite sign, so it'll be positive instead of negative, which means that's my point. And now I'm going to go graph it. Okay, so if I go, point is 3, 2, which is 1, 2, 3, up 2 right here. Now I can do my slope from there. Remember, positive slope goes up and to the right, so this is slope 3 over 1. So I can always put it over 1 and go up 3, right 1, 1, 2, 3, right 1, okay? And, or you can go left 1, down 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? And I get my line here, draw it right in there, and I'm good. Okay, so that's how you'd graph these if they give you the equation and told you to graph it, okay? All right, so that is more about linear equations and the point slope form. I think that's good. Tell you what, if you want to do one you try thing, you can. I want you to do this. I want you to take the equation y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 2. This will be the last problem. And switch to y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in order to do that, you'll do distributive property, get the y alone. Okay, so why don't you do that? And when you do that, you get y minus 2 equals 3x minus 6. Add 2. You get y equals 3x minus 4. which should be what you got up there. Oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, okay, I just switched that. Okay. All right, great. And that's it for today. I'm going to close it out with a little more music.